Hello, and welcome, dear listeners, to a journey through the annals of history, a journey that traversed the rugged terrain of struggle, the triumph echoes of freedom, and the unwavering spirit of one of history's most iconic figures. My name's Jayla, and this is Echoes of Freedom, the Harriet Tubman Chronicles. In this podcast series, we will delve deep into the life and legacy of Harriet Tubman, a woman whose name resonates with courage, resilience, unyielding determination. Through the passages of time, her story has echoed across generations, inspiring countless individuals to stand tall against injustice and to pursue liberty with unwavering fervor. Now, Harriet Tubman isn't just this legacy, or she is a monumental figure. As we walk into the footsteps of Harriet Tubman, we will unravel the threads of her remarkable odyssey, from her harrowing escape from enslavement in the antebellum South to her tireless efforts as a conductor on the Underground Railroad, leading scores of enslaved individuals to the promised land of freedom. But Harriet's story is not confined to the clandestine paths of the Underground Railroad. Her spirit blazed trails beyond the borders of just slavery, as she became a fervent abolitionist, a daring spy for the Union Army during the Civil War, and a vocal advocate for women's suffrage in the post-war years. That right there is amazing. I bet they were already all going through and dealing with their own issues. Dealing with that just isn't easy, and it's never easy. And what drove her to defy the shackles of oppression? That's the main question. What was her drive? What fueled her unwavering commitment to the cause of freedom, even in the face of the odds that they were dealing with? What was her drive, and where did she get it from? So, as I speak about this, join me as we can embark on a voyage of discovery, peeling back the layers of history to uncover the truths and complexities of Harriet Tubman's extraordinary life. Through interviews with historians, scholars, and descendants, along with dramatic reenactments and recordings, I want to strive to capture the essence of a woman whose legacy will continue for years on years, but whose legacy continues to echo through the corridors of time. This is Echoes of Freedom, the Harriet Tubman's Chronicles. I'm Jayla, and thank you for joining us on this transformative journey. Let's get into it. So, on that note, I have received many questions, and I kind of just want to dive right into them. So the first question I've received is, what inspired Harriet Tubman to become involved in the Underground Railroad, and what motivated her to risk her life to lead enslaved individuals to freedom? Now, this is what I was talking about a little bit in the beginning of my intro, but it's, where did her drive come from? And essentially, that's kind of what we're diverting into. What was the drive? What made her want to do this? And etc. So let's dive into it. No time wasted. So Harriet Tubman's involvement in the Underground Railroad was deeply rooted in her personal experiences as an enslaved person and her unwavering commitment to freedom and justice, as one would. Born into slavery in Maryland, which is not easy, Tubman experienced firsthand the brutalities and injustice of the bondage. Despite facing unimaginable hardships, she harbored a fierce desire for liberty, not just for herself, but for all enslaved individuals. Tubman's decisions to join the Underground Railroad was motivated by a combination of factors. Firstly, her own escape from slavery in 1849 fueled her determination to help others achieve freedom. Having successfully navigated the treacherous journey to the north via the Underground Railroad, Tubman felt compelled to return and guide others to safety. Knowing the perils they faced and empathizing deeply with their desire for freedom. Additionally, Tubman's strong religious faith played a significant role in her motivations. She believed that her actions were not only morally justified, but also ordained by God. Tubman saw herself as an instrument of divine providence, tasked with delivering her fellow enslaved people from bondage. This spiritual conviction provided her with the strength and courage to undertake incredibly dangerous missions, often risking her own life to ensure the freedom of others. But ultimately, Harriet Tubman's involvement in the Underground Railroad was driven by a profound sense of empathy, justice, and duty. Her experiences as an enslaved person, coupled with her unwavering faith and moral convictions, inspired her to devote her life to the cause of freedom and leaving behind a legacy of courage and compassion that continues to inspire generations till this day. Another question quite often regarding Harriet is, can you share some examples of the specific acts of kindness and compassion that Harriet Tubman demonstrated throughout her life, particularly during her time as a conductor on the Underground Railroad? And absolutely. Harriet Tubman's life was marked by numerous acts of kindness and compassion. When I say numerous, I'm talking about numerous, that the people that she was saving and the people that she knew would refer to her as different names, like a nurse, a mom, a nurturer, a hero. She was basically everything. But specifically, she was risking her life. One, let's get that on the plate. Risking her life to not only save herself, but others with her. That right there, if that doesn't show compassion to you, then I don't know what does, because that's a brave act. And especially back in the time when they were in, not only were they risking, God knows what could have happened, but ultimately it would have been death. It would have been they getting killed or lynched or, something like that. So, and she was risking it. There was no doubt in her mind. She put her best foot down and she got them where they needed to get. And so, yeah, risking her life, Tubman repeatedly risked her own safety to lead enslaved individuals to freedom. Despite the dangers of capture and punishment, she made approximately 13 missions back into the South, guiding over 70 enslaved people to freedom in the North. Okay, so that is amazing. Another thing that shows her kindness and compassion was she provided shelter and aid. So she was also referred to as a nurse, as I mentioned. So she sheltered and provided aid to fugitive slaves along the Underground Railroad route. She often hid them in safe houses, including her own home, and nursed them back to health if they were injured or ill during the journey. She also was a spiritual guide. Now, Tubman not only provided physical assistance, but also acted as a spiritual guide and source of strength for those she led to freedom. She inspired hope and courage in others through her unwavering faith and determination, often offering words of encouragement and prayers during those, harsh moments. And then kind of one of my last things I want to say about her numerous acts of kindness and compassion was she refused, and I'm heavy on the refused because she literally refused to leave anyone behind. Tubman was known for her refusal to leave anyone behind, even when faced with great risks. On one occasion, when some of her companions expressed their desire to turn back out of fear, Tubman famously declared, "You'll be free or die." So she's giving them like an ultimatum, like, okay, you don't want to walk with me, that's fine. You can either be free, come with me, or die. And, those are some pretty hard options, especially back in what they were dealing with. Another question. How did Harriet Tubman's experience as an enslaved person shape her perspective on freedom and her commitment to helping others escape bondage? Now, I truly love this question. I think it gives people an insight on Harriet. But Harriet Tubman's experience as an enslaved person profoundly shaped her perspective on freedom and her commitment to helping others escape bondage. Obviously, she was born into slavery in Maryland, and that was in the early 1820s or so. Tubman endured the brutal realities of slavery from a young age. She experienced firsthand the deprivation of basic human rights, the constant fear of punishment, and the separation from her family. These experiences instilled in Tubman a deep desire for freedom and a fierce determination to escape the horrors of slavery. After her own escape to freedom in 1849, Tubman could have chosen to live a relatively safe life in the North. However, this is why she is so iconic, because she was not content to enjoy her own freedom while others remained enslaved. Instead, she did what a lot of us wouldn't do, but she risked her own life and her time and time again to help lead others to freedom through the Underground Railroad, a network of safe houses and secret routes that facilitated the escape of enslaved individuals to free states in Canada. Tubman's experience as an enslaved person gave her a unique understanding of the importance of freedom. And the injustice of slavery. She saw firsthand the dehumanizing effects of bondage and recognized the urgent need to fight against it. Her commitment to helping others escape was fueled by her own experience and a deep sense of empathy for those who suffered as she once had. Throughout her life, Tubman remained steadfast in her dedication to the cause of freedom, even risking capture and death to rescue others. Her legacy as a freedom fighter and abolitionist continues to inspire generations, reminding us of the power of perseverance, courage, and compassion in the face of oppression. So you're going to hear this a lot often throughout this podcast of, her dedication towards, freeing the slaves. Her commitment was just, it was something else. Like, they had never seen something like that. Learning about it, we've never heard anybody else do that before. She was like the one and only to do it. So it's really amazing that she could do that. So another question from an outside perspective. So Tubman's efforts during the Civil War included serving as a nurse and a spy for the Union Army. Okay. But how did her compassion influence her actions on the battlefield And what impact did she have on the lives of soldiers? This one is also a great one, and I cannot wait to dive deep into this because it's a big thing. But Harriet Tubman's compassion profoundly influenced her actions on the battlefield during the Civil War as a nurse and a spy for the Union Army. As I mentioned, before I get into it, as I mentioned in the beginning, she had multiple names. Nurse, spy, mother, caretaker, hero, etc. And we're just digging a little deeper onto the nurse and spy one specifically. But Tubman demonstrated her unwavering commitment to helping others, even in the midst of the chaos and violence of war. Tubman's experience as an enslaved person had given her a deep understanding of suffering and injustice, which fueled her compassion for others. On the battlefield specifically, she tirelessly cared for wounded soldiers, offering comfort and support to those in pain. Her presence as a nurse provided a sense of emotional challenges. She obviously wasn't no certified nurse, she wasn't even really a nurse, but was the one there for them, providing the care, just a little background info. In addition to her role as a nurse, Tubman also served as a spy for the Union Army, using her knowledge of the local terrain and her ability to move discreetly to gather valuable intelligence on Confederate positions and movements. Her bravery and resourcefulness as a spy saved countless lives and contributed significantly to the Union war effort. Tubman's impact on the lives of soldiers was immeasurable. Not only did she provide essential medical care and support to those in need, but she also played a crucial role in helping the Union Army gain strategic advantages over the Confederacy. Her compassion, courage, and selflessness actions challenge the norms and perceptions about the capabilities of African American and women. By serving as a nurse and a spy, she defied stereotypes and she demonstrated the valuable contributions that marginalized individuals that could make to the war effort. Overall, Harriet Tubman's compassion influenced her actions on the battlefield by driving her to help others in any way she could. Her impact on the lives of soldiers was profound, both in terms of the direct assistance she provided and the example she set for future generations. So, yeah, kind of to sum that up, she was a pretty big deal during the army, for the army, I should say, for the soldiers. They don't obviously have a lot of support, and so she was their support. And as long as our soldiers feel supported, you can go as far as you want. And so I feel like she was like, you know what, I'm gonna help them get what they need to get, and that was just her personality. That was her persona. Another question. In what ways did Harriet Tubman continue her advocacy for social justice and equality after the Civil War, particularly in her involvement with the women's suffrage movement? Also, great question. So after the Civil War, Harriet Tubman continued her advocacy for social justice and equality, expanding her efforts beyond the abolition of slavery to include other causes such as women's suffrage. So the women's suffrage movement, Tubman became increasingly involved in the women's suffrage movement, recognizing the importance of securing voting rights for women as a crucial step towards achieving equality. She attended suffrage meetings, spoke at suffrage rallies, and worked alongside prominent suffragists such as Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. Tubman's experience as an African-American woman provided a unique perspective within the suffrage movement highlighting the intersectionality of race and gender in the fight for equality. She also brought intersectional activism. So Tubman advocated for the rights of both African American and women, understanding the interconnected nature of oppression and discrimination. She emphasized the importance of solidarity among marginalized groups and worked to bridge divides within the broader social justice movement. Tubman's commitment to intersectional activism laid the groundwork for future civil rights leaders who would continue to fight for equality on multiple fronts. Also, it was kind of like establishment of community institutions were done. Tubman also focused on building community institutions to support marginalized individuals. She established schools for African American children and provided assistance to newly freed slaves. She also was helping them adjust to life after emancipation. She's just amazing. There's no other words to describe her, but Tubman understood the importance of education and economic empowerment in achieving social justice and worked to create opportunities for those who had been, disenfranchised by slavery and discrimination. And on that note of education, she actually herself was never educated, or I should say, as she was leading, the slaves to be enslaved, she had not read before, so she didn't know how to read a book, she wasn't that educated. And so honestly, that's like another movement, because honestly, I feel like a lot of people now can't, even go down the street without a GPS on the phone, where like Harriet Tubman she had, a little compass or so, she found her ways, but no education. And I just think that's honestly just amazing. But, so in like a more personal example, Tubman's own life served as a powerful example of resilience, courage, and determination in the face of adversity. By sharing her story and speaking out against injustice, she inspired others to join the fight for equality. Tubman's willingness to speak truth to power and her unwavering commitment to justice continues to inspire advocates to this day. But, just to kind of sum all that up, because it was probably, a lot, but her advocacy for social justice and equality after the Civil War through her involvement in the women's suffrage movement, her commitment to intersectional activism, the establishment of community institutions, and her personal example of courage and resilience, her contributions to the fight for equality helped pave the way, for future generations of activists and continue to inspire people around the world. So that kind of answers that. We're going to do like a couple more questions. I don't want to overload anybody with the questions, but this is, so the next question, can you discuss Tubman's establishment of the Tubman Home for the Aged and her dedication to providing care and support for those in need in her later years? Absolutely. Certainly. In her later years, Harriet Tubman continued her dedication to providing care and support for those in need by establishing the Tubman Home for the Aged. So first thing was the establishment of the Tubman Home for the Aged. In 1903, Harriet Tubman purchased a parcel of land in Auburn, New York, where she had settled after the Civil War. Good for her. On this land, she established the Harriet Tubman Home for the Aged, a facility dedicated to providing housing, care, and support for elderly African Americans in need. Tubman recognized the lack of support and resources available to elderly individuals, particularly those who had been marginalized by society, and sought to create a place where they could live out their, later years with dignity and respect. Missions and values were impacted. The Tubman Home for the Aged reflected Tubman's deeply held values of compassion, community, and empowerment. She believed in the importance of caring for those who had been overlooked or neglected, by society and worked tirelessly to ensure that residents of the home received the support they needed. Tubman's commitment to social justice and equality extended to every aspect of the home's operation, from its exclusive admissions policies to its focus on providing culturally sensitive care. Lastly, legacy. The Tubman Home for the Aged represented a continuation of Tubman's lifelong commitment to helping others and fighting for social justice. Even in her later years, she had remained steadfast in her dedication to making a positive difference in the lives of those around her. The home served as a testament to Tubman's enduring legacy of compassion, generosity, and empowerment. And to basically sum that up, Harriet Tubman's establishment of the Tubman Home for the Aged exemplified her commitment to providing care and support for those in need in her later years. The home reflected Tubman's values of compassion and community and served as a tangible expression of her lifelong dedication to social justice and equality. Now, she is just a remarkable trademark. She's amazing. Providing that probably gave the people such secureness. She was also able to educate herself as well and spread knowledge. So I feel like that also impacted the community as well. Okay, we're going to do one last question. And this one might be my favorite question because I just love unraveling about it. But finally, how can we ensure that Harriet Tubman's legacy of compassion and empathy continues to be honored and celebrated in the present day and for generations to come? Yeah, that right there is an amazing question because seriously, her legacy should always continue. I think it should always be taught in school. I think everybody should always be educated on the importance of what she has done for us. But yeah, ensuring that Harriet Tubman's legacy of compassion and empathy is honored and celebrated for generations to come requires ongoing efforts to educate, commemorate, and advocate for the values she embodied. And here are some, ways we can achieve this. So education, as I was mentioning, keep incorporating it into school and middle schools and even elementary and high school and in college and keep the education going. Ensuring that students learn about her life and activism and impact. This can include teaching materials, books, documentaries, and museum exhibits that highlight her legacy. And also, on that note, there was just a movie put out for Harriet Tubman, and it was basically describing her story. So that right there is just carrying her legacy because that movie will be forever there. And, if somebody ever wanted to go and watch it, it's there. And so right there, we're carrying her legacy. But moving on, we could also have a commemoration. So we can establish memorials and monuments and landmarks dedicated to Harriet Tubman in places significant to her life and work. These physical reminders serve as symbols of her enduring legacy and provide opportunities for reflection and inspiration. We could have a community engagement, encourage community discussions, events, and initiatives that celebrate Harriet Tubman's legacy and promote the values of compassion, empathy, and social justice that she championed. This could include lectures, panel discussions, art exhibits, and volunteer projects focused on issues that she cared about. And lastly, empowerment. She was a big woman of empowerment. So if we could embody that, that will also be amazing. So we need to empower individuals, particularly marginalized communities, to carry forward Harriet Tubman's legacy, to encourage activism, leadership, and advocacy for positive change. By uplifting voices and fostering empowerment, we ensure that her spirit of compassion and empathy lives on in action. But yeah, Harriet Tubman's story is one of the resilience, courage, and unwavering commitment to justice. Tubman's impact extended far beyond her efforts to abolish slavery. As a nurse, a suffrage, a humanitarian, she continued to fight for the rights and dignity for all people, leaving an incredible mark on the course of history. As we honor her memory, let us not only celebrate her accomplishments, but also heed the lessons of her life. Let us be inspired by her compassion, her empathy, and her unwavering belief in the power of collective action to create positive change. In a world still grappling with issues of injustice and equality, Harriet Tubman's legacy reminds us that the fight for freedom and equality is far from over. May we carry her spirit with us as we continue the journey toward a more just and compassionate society for all. Thank you for joining us, or joining me, I should say, on this exploration of Harriet Tubman's life and legacy. Until next time, remember to stay curious, stay compassionate, and never stop seeking the truth.